All right, let's continue. I took a break. I literally started it yesterday, and then yeah.
Beautiful in their childhood, or a character in a film or book. Even before Boursicot heard Pei-Pu's story, he had the uncanny feeling of something remarkable and fantastical in this normal-looking man. The secret to creating an uncanny effect is to keep it subtle and suggestive.
It's almost like I said, when somebody's trying to show off their wealth, you gotta if you want to show off your wealth, you have to do it in a subtle way. Why? Because if you show off your wealth in an exaggerated way, it's not gonna show how awesome you are. It's just gonna show how insecure you are. And I think this is very similar to that. Where if you want to demonstrate the uncanny, it has to be subtle, right? But you know what? The funny thing is that there are some rules that are meant to be broken. Because I could just think of the meditation gurus, like the cult leaders, like Osho. He looked like a fucking cult leader. He looked like an Indian guru. So I'm trying to think about where the exceptions are to this rule. If anybody knows, let me know in the comment section. I think it paused a little bit. What's going on here? Just paused. Okay.
Beautiful, but had no other talents to her credit. Yet she rose to become one of the greatest seductresses in history, seducing first Sir William Hamilton, the English ambassador to the court of Naples, and then, as Lady Hamilton, Sir William's wife, Vice Admiral Lord Nelson. What was strangest when you met her was an uncanny sense that she was a figure from the past, a woman out of Greek myth or ancient history. Sir William was a collector of Greek and Roman antiquities. To seduce him, Emma cleverly made herself resemble a Greek statue and mythical figures in paintings of the time.
You see, so it's like that makes okay. I kind of get what he's saying. For example, right, when you think of an artist, right, or when you think of an art connoisseur, you're naturally going to think of like a Frenchman with a turtleneck and glasses, right? That's a representation of an art connoisseur. So if you were to select who do you want to purchase your art, and you had to guess which one will buy it, you have a guy with Timberlands looking like he's from Hood. You have a guy with looking like he's from Wall Street, and then you have the guy with the circle glasses, with the fucking French shit and the turtleneck. You're gonna go with the turtleneck, dude. You know what I'm saying? So I think what he's saying is that you want your look to remind them of something of the past. And this is pretty much a fashion show, a fashion type of statement, but also in your demeanor, like I said. When you're trying, in your demeanor, the perfect example for me with demeanor is imagine how people who are powerful behave, right? Think of The Godfather. If you want to give people the sense that you're destined to have power, resemble how The Godfather behaves, and people are just gonna sense that you're almost like you're meant. They're gonna sense that people respect you, just because of the way that you behave. So it's not just like I said, physically, or it's not just behavior. Also, it's also with the symbols that you have in your apartment, the symbols, the type of ornaments that you have. Everything adds up to this. Let's keep listening.
It wasn't just the way she wore her hair or dressed, but her poses, the way she carried herself. It was as if one of the
It's almost like this is pretty much saying what I'm saying to you guys.
paintings he collected had come to life. Soon,
Like for example, when you look at me, you could tell that I remind you of something, right? I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, I look like a something in history. You know what I'm saying? The meditation guy, right? And clearly, if I want to be taken more seriously in the business world, then I wouldn't dress like this. You know, so you gotta tell people who you are through how you dress and be more aware of that, and not be ignorant about that reality.
Sir William began to host parties in his home in Naples at which Emma would wear costumes and pose, recreating images from mythology and history. Dozens of men fell in love with her, for she embodied an image from their childhood, an image of beauty and perfection.
And that's the thing, is that embody a fantasy pretty much by literally what you wear. Make sure that it's almost like you're almost like wearing a costume, to be honest with you. People, this is actually one of my favorite chapters. But if you guys want to join the Robert Greene Book Club for just $5 a month, there's only a cup of coffee, ladies and gentlemen. You could click on the description down below where it says join the Robert Greene Book Club, and you'll get all of the archives. I have a bunch of chapters. And we're going to be doing more of it. And I'm going to be uploading the last part of this chapter tomorrow. All right? So I'll see you guys inside when I'm closing the channel.
The key to this fantasy creation was some shared cultural association. Mythology, historical seductresses like Cleopatra.
So it has to be culturally relevant, pretty much. So you can't be bringing no fucking fantasy fiction. You can't be your Kim Jong-un. If you're in North Korea, don't try to bring that Kim Jong-il look to the Americas and say, oh, I'm cool. No, you look like a dictator. That's what you look like. You know? So it has to be culturally relevant.
Every culture has a pool of such figures from the distant and not-so-distant past. You hint at a similarity in spirit and in appearance, but you are flesh and blood.
Oh, dude, this is so profound. Because it just makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. I'm just blown away right now.
What could be more thrilling than the sense of being in the presence of some fantasy figure going back to your earliest memories? One night, Pauline Bonaparte, the sister of Napoleon, held a gala affair in her house. Afterward, a handsome German officer approached her in the garden and asked for her help in passing along a request to the emperor. Pauline said she would do her best, and then, with a rather mysterious look in her eye, asked him to come back to the same spot the next night. The officer returned and was greeted by a young woman who led him to some rooms near the garden and then to a magnificent salon complete with an extravagant bath. Moments later, another young woman entered through a side door, dressed in the sheerest garments. It was Pauline. Bells were rung, ropes were pulled, and maids appeared, preparing the bath, giving the officer a dressing gown, then disappearing. The officer later described the evening as something out of a fairy tale, and he had the feeling that Pauline was deliberately acting the part of some mythical seductress. Pauline was beautiful and powerful enough to get almost any man she wanted, and she wasn't interested simply in luring a man into bed. She wanted to envelop him in romantic adventure, seduce his mind. Part of the adventure was the feeling that she was playing a role and was inviting her target along into this shared fantasy. Role-playing.
I was literally thinking of role-playing. This reminds me of role-playing. This is why it works, man. This is crazy. I'm actually, the thing is, I haven't read all the whole book, to be honest with you. But I haven't read this chapter. This chapter is blowing my mind. Like, it really is. I did read it years ago, but I just forgot. And it's crazy.
Is immensely pleasurable. Its appeal goes back to childhood, where we first learn the thrill of trying on different parts, imitating adults or figures out of fiction. As we get older and society fixes a role on us, a part of us yearns for the playful approach we once had, the masks we were able to wear. We still want to play that game, to act a different role in life. Indulge your targets in this wish by first making it clear that you are playing a role, then inviting them to join you in a shared fantasy.
This is like role-playing sex 101.
The more you set things up like a play or a piece of fiction, the better. Notice how Pauline began the seduction with a mysterious request that the officer reappear the next night. Then a second woman led him into a magical series of rooms. Pauline herself delayed her entrance, and when she appeared, she did not mention his business with Napoleon or anything remotely banal. She had an ethereal air about her. He was being invited to enter a fairy tale. The evening was real, but had an uncanny resemblance to an erotic dream. Casanova took role-playing...
Yeah. 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 This is why role playing is so useful. I mean, we don't have to go too deep into that.
still further. He traveled with an enormous wardrobe and a trunk full of props, many of them gifts for his targets, fans, jewels, other accoutrements. And some of the things he said and did were borrowed from novels he had read and stories he had heard. He enveloped women in a romantic atmosphere that was heightened yet quite real to their senses. Like Casanova, you must see the world as a kind of theater. Inject a certain lightness into the roles you're playing. Try to create a sense of drama and illusion. Confuse people with the slight unreality of words and gestures inspired by fiction. In daily life, be the consummate actor. Our culture reveres actors because of their freedom to play roles. It is something that all of us envy. For years, the Cardinal de Rohan had been afraid.
Honestly, people, I usually, again, like I said, I usually stop the video a lot, but I'm listening because this is kind of, it's funny because then it's regressing back to a childhood state of mind. When you role play, you have to stop taking yourself seriously, and there's a certain openness about you. I believe that opens up when you allow yourself to play these roles, and maybe that's why actors and actresses tend to fall in love so much when they work together. Not just the fact because people work together and the people who work together like each other eventually, but also it's the fact that you're playing a role. Playing and it does kind of like seep into your psyche playing those roles. Oh my god, dude! I could just think of so many things you could like almost like psychologically insinuate certain things into people by just playing that role. Don't you think playing the submissive reinforces being submissive?
That he had somehow offended his queen, Marie Antoinette. She would not so much as look at him. Then, in 1784, the Comtesse de la Motte Valois suggested to him that the queen was prepared not only to change the situation, but actually to befriend him. The queen, said La Motte Valois, would indicate this in her next formal reception. She would nod to him in a particular way. During the reception, Rohan indeed noticed a slight change in the queen's behavior toward him and a barely perceptible glance at him. He was overjoyed. Now, the countess suggested they exchange letters, and Rohan spent days writing and rewriting his first letter to the queen. To his delight, he received one back. Next, the queen requested a private interview with him in the gardens of Versailles. Rohan was beside himself with happiness and anxiety. At nightfall, he met the queen in the gardens, fell to the ground, and kissed the hem of her dress. You may hope.
It's kind of crazy. Fantasizing about when you do, for example, let's just say you're having sex, right? As a guy, okay, I'm gonna tell you something about guys. Guys will orgasm quicker while having sex with you if they imagine a scenario. For example, if they're imagining that they're having sex with you and that you're paying a debt, let's just say, better yet, let's just say, we're talking here, so I'm gonna get a little like R-rated. Let's just say you're doing him favors, right? And a guy will, because studies show that a guy's erection is more controlled by his imagination than the literal physical act, right? A guy will have a stronger erection by just imagining some scenario that maybe you owe him something, for example, right? Or maybe you're punishing her dad for disrespecting you, and now he has to pay for his disrespect by going down on you, right? I'm sorry that it's paused. Let me see if I could just put this right here. And that will actually turn the guy on more, the imagination. So I think it's even the same when they like you. When you not only they like you, but also the fact that they're imagining they're with a fantasy figure. You maybe look like his favorite character, or maybe you look like his ex, or maybe you're playing the role of the bad girl and he has to punish you, right? It enhances the experience. So it has to enhance the experience if you if you resemble something that they liked in the past. Eventually, it'll also add on to whatever emotions they have for you. So this is kind of true. You're adding imagination to reality.
That the past will be forgotten, she said. At this moment they heard voices approaching, and the queen, frightened that someone would see them together, quickly fled with her servants. But Rohan soon received a request from her, again through the countess. She desperately wanted to acquire the most beautiful diamond necklace ever created. She needed a go-between to purchase it for her, since the king thought it too expensive. She had chosen Rohan for the task. The cardinal was only too willing. In performing this task, he would prove his loyalty, and the queen would be indebted to him forever. Rohan acquired the necklace. The countess was to deliver it to the queen. Now Rohan waited for the queen both to thank him and slowly to pay him back. Yet this never happened. The countess was in fact a grand swindler. The queen had never nodded to him. He had only imagined it. The letters he had received from her were forgeries, and not even very good ones. The woman he had met in the park had been a prostitute, paid to dress and act the part. The necklace was, of course, real, but once Rohan had paid for it and handed it over to the countess, it disappeared. It was broken into parts, which were hawked all over Europe for enormous amounts. And when Rohan finally complained to the queen, news of the extravagant purchase spread rapidly. The public believed Rohan's story, that the queen had indeed bought the necklace and was pretending otherwise. This fiction was the first step in the ruin of her reputation. Everyone has lost something in life, has felt the pangs of disappointment. The idea that we can get something back, that a mistake can be righted, is immensely seductive. Under the impression that the queen was prepared to forgive some mistake he had made, Rohan hallucinated all kinds of things. Nods that didn't exist, letters that were the flimsy...
It's almost like when you like someone, you start to imagine the things that they're doing are romantic gestures, or, oh my God, she looked at me this way. Does it mean she likes me? I'm like, nah, bro, she just stared in your direction. So you start to see things.
To forgeries, a prostitute who became Marie Antoinette. The mind is infinitely vulnerable to suggestion, and even more so when strong desires are involved. And nothing is stronger than the desire to change the past, right or wrong, satisfy a disappointment. Find these desires in your victims, and creating a believable fantasy will be simple for you. Few have the power to see through an illusion they desperately want to believe in. Mm-hmm. Reversal. There is no reversal to this chapter. No seduction can proceed without creating illusion, the sense of a world that is real but separate from reality.
Yeah, this was my favorite chapter in any of his books at this moment in time. Because I think this just, at least for me, it illuminated so many things. Very, very well written. Jesus Christ, man, that was crazy, man. Yeah. Anyways, man, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. After today, I'm gonna do another one in 3 weeks. So yeah, expect another Robert Greene Book Club. Honestly, this chapter is kind of insane. Honestly, this chapter kind of feels like how cult leaders make people believe they're God. It explains this. It explains why people get scammed so easily. It explains why you tend to be so gullible when you're in love. It's truly eye-opening, at least even for me, to be honest with you. So if you guys want to check out the rest of this chapter, join the Robert Greene Book Club. The last one we did was Poeticizing Your Presence. And here we usually post 2 chapters per month. So if you guys want to become part of the Robert Greene Book Club, click in the description down below where you can watch the rest of this video. And it's only for $5 a month, people. $5 a month, you can get access to it. And we have a bunch of different bonuses and different tiers like that you guys can check out. Okay? Anyways, I'll see you guys inside. Take care.